out on the Dearborn City Council, to which I was elected in 1985 after graduating from Wayne State University. I then went on to Detroit College of Law, where I served on the Dean's List Law Review and was a teacher's assistant for contracts law. And after graduating from Detroit College of Law, I then was elected to the Wayne County Commission, where I wrote the county's first ethics ordinance and other accountability ordinances that reduce fraud and waste in the county. And I also wrote the county's first airport noise abatement law, which culminated in the construction of the airport's first new terminal. So I was on the county commission for 15 years, and then I was elected to the Wayne County Circuit Court in 2010, which would have been 10 years ago, and I was assigned to the family division. And as a domestic court judge, I learned very quickly that the system was overloaded with self-represented litigants. So about 70% of the docket involved litigants who were representing themselves. And I could see that they needed help. So I applied for a grant from the state court administrator's office and received it, and created the court's first instructional video on how to file for divorce, which is used by many people today to help them navigate through the system. This is the first time in many years that there's actually an opening on the Supreme Court that will not be appointed by the governor. So when that occurs, it's rare. And I believe I am very qualified to serve in that position. And I think it's important that the next justice who serves in that position be someone who is in support of upholding our Constitution and the people's, constitutional rights. I have Lady Justice on my bench right now who has a blindfold on and is holding, the balance of justice in her hand. And I think it is so important to have impartial judges. And I am so happy to say that I am one of those. I have always run grassroots level campaigns without any dark money, meaning unknown money, or, organizations who are, funding my campaign. Instead, I've had, pretty much average people donating to my campaigns. And what I learned through my family, who were involved in politics for many years, is that, if you do a good job and you get some things done for the people, then your reputation will carry you into office. And so that's always been my motto. And frankly, it's always been effective. So regardless of the money I don't raise, I've been elected for nearly 30 years now because people know that I'm honest and that I am very fair and that I will do the right thing. So I think it's very important to have impartial justices opposed to those who will toe the party line or who will, instead, paid more attention to their donors who, may have contributed great deals of money to their campaigns.
It's been an honor to serve for the last 8 years. Obviously the court plays an important role in our government as the nonpartisan branch to resolve questions of law and make sure there's stability and predictability in the law of the state. At the same time, the court also has constitutional administrative oversight of all of the courts of the state. And as everybody probably knows, most people come in contact with the judicial system in trial courts, not in the Supreme Court. Very few cases go to the Supreme Court, but lots of cases are adjudicated in the trial courts. In fact, between 3 and 4 million cases a year are. So a lot of people are impacted by the kind and quality of justice that those courts are able to deliver. And that administrative oversight function gives us at the Supreme Court an opportunity to really affect that quality of justice. So in supporting problem-solving courts statewide, in the work we're doing to solve the civil justice gap, the many people who can't afford lawyers and have to navigate courts without them. In the work I have been doing leading the governor's task force on jail and pretrial reform, it's been an honor to be able to play a part of an effort to make sure Michigan courts are leading the nation in access to justice, and a place where people can expect to be able to get their business done, be treated with dignity and respect, and be able to move forward with their lives. And I'm eager to continue to work on some of those projects. It's really important that the court is nonpartisan for a reason. It really does play a different role than the political branches. The political branches are the places where, if you don't like the policies they have put forward, you vote in new people to get different policies, to get new policies. And the court, on the other hand, is nonpartisan because we decide hard questions of law and not questions of policy. And that means it's the oath we take is not to any interest group, it's to the law, it's to the Constitution and of the state and of the United States. When you have a multi-member court, one of the great upsides is you have 7 perspectives around the conference table to try and work to figure out those very hard questions. If they were easy questions, they wouldn't make it to the Supreme Court. They would have been decided in the courts below, and we wouldn't have spent our time with them. So when you see cases where there's more than one opinion, that's because it was a hard case, and that's okay.
As you may or may not know, there have been several efforts to try and focus on the Supreme Court by the various major parties to get their factions involved on the court, the Democrat and the Republican Party. I was nominated by the Libertarian Party, and so we're not really indebted to either of the other parties and their agendas. We are focusing more on the idea of what it is to have a government under a constitution that is limited and that really emphasizes the rights of the people as stated in the Constitution. And I think there's been a void about that on the bench. There's been an emphasis on the power of the government over the individual, and the individual rights of the people have been somewhat neglected. That motivated me to get involved. Well, the goal of impartiality is to actually be free from political bias and influence. Free to do what? Free to consult your own personal feelings. Well, everybody's a human being. They have these temptations, but the freedom that actually is necessary for impartiality is the freedom to apply the law as written. And I think as to the extent that's a guiding light or a principle, it would be something I would like to, put forward. Now, we've seen in the past that really means to some people, go find law that supports your position. And to other people, it means, no, just look at the Constitution itself. Who adopted it? What was the sentiment? What did it mean at that time? And I think I'm more in the latter group, certainly.
Okay.
Well, I just think that the judicial branch is, one of the 3 branches, but it's independent, but it's also dependent on the Constitution. It's not above the Constitution. It's not below. It must act in a constitutional manner, which means it must apply the law as written and not side with one branch or another in light of what policy preferences are involved. So that's something I think is critical if you're going to have the people have confidence in the judiciary. If you don't have that, then they just look upon the judiciary as another political branch, which is quite unfortunate, but it's sort of the lay of the land in many ways.
I'm a judge on the Michigan Court of Appeals. I love judicial work, and I believe that we need a Supreme Court that rules without fear or favor, a court that rules solely based on the facts and the law of the case, and one that respects the legislature and executive branches, but doesn't back down from them in appropriate circumstances. I think it's important. Each judge and justice has to have integrity to follow the canons. We have to be impartial. That's our job. But also, I think experience helps. If you have experience in cases where you are focusing solely on the facts and the law and not extraneous outside issues, I think that helps. It kind of helps build up a callus, that ability to ignore the outside sources. And so I think that experience helps.
I have spent the last 25 years working on employment law issues for small businesses, nonprofits, and individuals. I have also been deeply involved in the spaces around public education, policies and laws and funding issues, as well as voter rights and conservation issues. All of the things that I care a lot about and I've been deeply involved in are deeply impacted by the courts, as well as a lot of daily decision making the court makes that impact everybody's lives. There's a great opportunity to bring positive change to our courts in the form of the systems of the court to make the court work better. And a lot of the work I have done in the past has worked in those really hard systems to improve things and make lives better. So I step forward largely because I believe the courts can do great work all across our state. And I think our Supreme Court can take a leadership role in that regard.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's a really great question because I do believe that the integrity of our democracy largely requires the judicial branch to be nonpartial and nonpartisan and not partial to anybody. And I think when the public believes that it isn't acting in a nonpartisan way, that's a failure by the third branch. So it's really important to our democracy that this third branch that was largely designed to resolve conflicts between the other two branches and make hard decisions if there's a conflict in the courts below, that they function in a fair and impartial manner. Now, obviously, judges disagree on what the answers are, right? I mean, we know that because we see opinions that are close or by one vote majorities. And those are the cases that often get politicized. I still believe it's really, really important that the general public as a whole believe in the faith of the judiciary, because if we don't believe in them, then that's a failure for democracy. And so I believe it's really important that the people who hold these seats definitely act in a nonpartisan way. Okay. Whether it's at the US Supreme Court or the state Supreme Court, I do believe you can model what a good, healthy judicial system looks like a couple of ways. One, I think the justices, regardless of who nominated them or what party people affiliate them with, can all be working together on making the justice system better. So I'm not talking about just the decision making, but we can all agree we want our local courts to function in a healthy way and hopefully be viewed as helpful to our communities. So my hope would be that the justices can all rally around that and work together to make the court system work better. So that's a uniting common goal. The other thing is just how they behave publicly with one another. You can disagree without being disagreeable. And I think that is something we all could stand to remember. I spoke publicly about when Justice Ginsburg passed away, that her legacy was obviously profound with her legal decisions. But I also reminded everybody about her incredibly deep friendship with Justice Scalia. Huge disagreements on paper, but deep respect for each other's intellect and good friendships. So I do believe the justices can model what a high functioning democracy can look like.